All right, class. This will be the first time I go through the process of modeling something in front of you. I'm going to ask that you follow along as best you can. I have reset my commands back to what I'm used to, so if you see me doing something you can't figure out how to do it, please ask in the Discord. I or someone else will be able to point in the right direction. If all else fails, look at the menus to find the action that I performed and see what the hotkey is that's mapped to it, or map one if you find it useful. All right, so this is my default setup. I don't use the default cube. I deleted that out of my default setup since I very rarely ever do that. My snap menu looks like this. It's basically the same stuff, just in a different layout. And again, I just have a default light and a default camera. So new command. I have deleted the cube. You can delete stuff with X or the delete key. So if I had the cube, I had a cube here and I wanted to get rid of it, X, delete, or delete, deletes it. All right, but for now, I'm going to add a new type of mesh. I'm going to, actually let me full screen this. Top-down view. I like to add things in the top-down view just to make sure that my objects are always aligned with the world. Different versions of Blender played it that differently, so now I'm extra cautious whether that's still a thing it needs to be or not. Shift A, for me, calls up the add menu. If that's not the same for you, there's always the add menu here. And you can see that Blender supports a wide variety of things we can add. They've got curves, surfaces, metaballs, text, grease pencil drawing, armatures. I do most of my work with mesh modeling, since most of the work that I'm doing, and the whole point behind this class, is to create things that we're going to be using in other applications. So I am going to add a monkey. And there you see, I've modeled the monkey. All right, that's the end of this tutorial for now. Thanks for watching. I'm kidding. This is the default Blender icon. This is Suzanne, or Susan, I don't know how you pronounce it. I've only ever read it. But this is a little, this is Blender's equivalent of A113. So if you see that Easter egg showing up in like a Pixar movie, A113, that was the room where many original Pixar artists learned at the school they went to art for. So they like to add that as a little Easter egg. Blender has Suzanne. It's the default Blender monkey. It's low poly. It is iconic. It is not going to be what we're working on today, so I'm just going to delete that. Once again, from the top-down view, adding mesh, and I'm going to add a circle. Now, before I go any further, I want to point out that you might have this menu popping up here at the bottom, whether it's minimized or maximized, add circle. While I'm still adding something new, I have some control over how it's being created. Once I've started modifying and messing with it, it's done. It is just geometry. It no longer has context associated with it. But for now, I can adjust how many vertices I want on my object. So I can scroll this all the way down. I could make a circle that is defined by 3 edges, or so I like to call that sometimes a triangle. But if I click on the middle, I can even enter in the number. Anytime you see a number, you can scroll through it with the mouse, or if you click on it in the middle, it'll open up a text entry and I can type how many sides I want. Let me start off with just 16. 16 is a nice solid number. I can even adjust the radius. 1 is a fine radius. Fill type nothing. Fill type triangle fan. N-gon. These are all different models for how we can fill in stuff. I'm going to go with, actually I'm going to go with nothing. I don't need anything here. I'm going to go with an empty circle that is just a bunch of edges with no face data. So if I were to render this, F12, I have nothing. Remember I said Blender does not render edges, it does not render vertices, it renders faces. So without any faces to render, I get nothing. Just to make sure that it was on camera, hotkey 0, you can see there should be a circle there if it were to render that, but we actually get nothing. I'm hitting escape to close that window. Now that I have my 16 face circle here, I'm going to hit tab and go into edit mode. I'm going to look at a top-down view, top-down view. And I'm going to start looking at what I want to work with here. So I'm going to go through a basic sword tutorial. By basic sword, you're going to see it is going to be pretty basic. I'm going to just build the blade, then I'm going to build the hilt and crossguard, then the tang and grip, and finally pummel, and that'll be the end of this basic tutorial. Your first exercise is to find some iconic sword or blade or other weapon from a movie, TV show, or video game that you like, whether it be Thor's hammer or Cloud's Buster sword, or I don't know, whatever you happen to be interested in. Go ahead and find some reference images of it and see if you can make it look like that. I am going to just do a generic cartoony looking sword thing, and I'm going to do it with just the basic tools that I've already showed you in the basics video. So here's my circle. I've got vertices selected. In my 2.7 key binding set, A is a toggle. So you'll see me mashing this a lot. It's not because I've got any kind of OCD, it's just because that's how it actually does work on this. So with everything selected, I'm going to hit scale, and I'm going to hit Y to scale just along the Y-axis. So I'm going to squeeze this down and start building the profile of a blade. I'm now going to deselect the outer edges, and I'm going to scale this along the X-axis to pull it in and make that edge look just a little bit sharper. And I'm going to select just the middle two and scale this once again along the Y to make I believe this is called a fuller. It's been a while since I watched Forged in Fire. Scale this in a little bit too to make that fuller a little bit more rounded. If I remember correctly, I don't like that one. It is meant to add strength to the blade while also reducing its overall weight. So there's going to be my profile of my blade. Selecting all. I'm going to look at it from the side, and I'm going to scale the whole thing down to probably about half the size. If I hit S and I hold Control, if you look in the top left corner, it's now snapping my scale to an even 0.1 scale. So I'm going to pull this down to 0.5, which is half. There we are. Make that about half the size. So now my unit circle is now a width of, well, its total is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the width is still one whole blend unit. What does a blend unit mean? Whatever you want it to mean. You can set it to be meters, you can set it to be inches, you can set it to be quake units, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. Now looking at this from the side view, I'm going to hit extrude and Z. So I've now, the extrude command duplicates what I have, connects it to what I had selected, and then activates a grab command. By hitting Z, I've now locked the grab to move in just the Z axis. If I right click, I've canceled the grab, I have not canceled the extrude. So there is still extra geometry here. So now I'm going to hit grab, grab Z, and I'm going to make this 1 unit tall. I'm now going to scale this out just a little bit. I'm going to extrude it again locking it to Z, bring it all the way up. I'm going to go to wireframe view because sometimes it makes it a little bit easier to see what I'm working with here. I'm now going to scale it in just a little bit more, extrude again locking it to Z, scale it down even more, extrude, Z, and now about this point, what I want to do is I want to merge these vertices into one point. So I'm going to go to, I believe it's under the vertex command, or vertex menu here, and there should be a merge, or is it under select? No. I'm looking for the merge. Oh, there it is, under mesh, merge. My hotkey, it's M, and I want to have it merged. Now remember, cursor means this thing. Center will be the rough center of all that I have selected, and collapse is going to be similar, or by distance. By distance is handy if I have a whole lot of vertices I'm trying to weld together. It'll basically take any vertice that is close in positional space and just merge them as one vertice. In this case, I want them to all be one vertice, so I want this to be merged at center. And now look, that made the sword. Going back to my view here, I can see what my sword looks like. And it's a little wide. It's kind of more like a butterfly blade than a sword. So I'm going to select the whole thing again, look at it from here, scale along the X. Actually, yeah, scale along the X. And scale along everything but Z. There, now that's more like a sword. Now say I have these vertices selected, and I'd had the scale on these wrong. Like, that's a little too extreme. I want to smooth it out a little bit. There is a smooth option. There is this command called smooth vertices. You click it, and it will just kind of take whatever it's connected to and smooth out its position in space. So I just kind of smooth that out too. In my 2.7 command, I can call up this vertex context menu with W, basically the same stuff from this menu. And I can collect smooth vertices faster that way. I don't know if there's a hotkey to open this. Oh, well, for me it's, I guess, Control V. But if you mouse over this, you should see if there's a hotkey to open it up for you. Sometimes smoothing things out will help. I'm now going to go into back into my object mode, and I'm going to take a look at what I see with the camera. Maybe I want my camera. Here's a time where I'm going to point out a new way you can use the cursor here. So up here, which one is this? Proportional editing mode. Where is the button for this? It is, it's this button, this menu here. This menu lets you determine what you are going to be doing commands relative to. So if I were to rotate, I'm rotating around my object center here, and I can make everyone sick if I keep doing that. I'm going to stop doing that. Or I can have it rotate around the 3D cursor. So that thing is now going to be how I rotate this. And it's still weird because I'm rotating it around relative to what I'm looking at. But I can now rotate it around that, around Z, and now I'm rotating around the camera. I can pan around anything that I can set that to. Going back to my bound center, X, double X, and now I'm panning my camera up and down with RXX just to try to get it all into frame here, and move the Z back a little bit. All right, F12. There's the camera. By the way, let me select my light here and just make sure, move it off to the side a little bit more here. I'm going to duplicate it. Shift D duplicates. Now when I render, I just see it better lit up. In fact, with my light selected, I can go over to the light menu, and I can change the color of this light. So I want to give this a little bit of a contrast. So I'm going to just move this slightly toward purple, and I'm going to then select the other light and move this slightly toward yellow. Two contrasting colors. So now when I render it, it'll show a little bit more detail than it did before. I'm going to actually make one more light. I'm going to move this toward the camera. This can be more like the key light if I was setting up anything. And I'm going to move this one back toward no saturation. There we go. Okay, so now that I've got my lights set up, maybe move these a little further away. Yeah, I don't need that open. Let's start working on the hilt, the crossguard. So once again, top-down view, Shift A, or I guess Control A. No, I don't know what the hot command is, but I'm going to add mesh. I'm going to add a cube this time. And in this cube, I'm going to, from the side view, grab it. I'll move it along the x-axis, and I'm going to snap it till it's right all on the center line here. And from this, I'm now going to select this face. And now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about deleting in edit mode. I have 3 different things selected here. I have a face selected, I have 4 vertices selected, and I have 4 edges selected. Depending on how I want to delete, I can, if I hit X, I can delete the face, in which case it is now hollow. Undo. I can delete the edges, which gets rid of the face and leaves just the vertices in place. And you can see it is just now, like I deleted all the faces. They can't have a face here if I don't have an edge connecting it. Or in this case, I just if I delete the vertices, I get rid of everything that's attached to the vertices. I do, for this case, want to get rid of just the face, though. So there. Just the face has been deleted. So it's this open box on this side. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to start using a modifier. If I go over here to my panel and I click on the wrench icon here, modifiers, I can add a modifier. And the modifier I want to add is under the generate category, and I want to mirror this. Now, if I'm going to work on something that I want to be symmetrical, working with the mirror modifier sometimes makes my life a lot easier. If I click on this icon too, the little on cage, this will make both sides functionally real. So if I with this off, you'll notice that there are no vertices on the side that has been mirrored, that is generated. But if I click it, there are vertices there as well. Now if I select vertex and I grab it, you see it happens on both sides. And I can grab it, I can grab either, and it doesn't matter because it's doing the same thing. So now as I start working on this object, it'll be mirrored across its center line. I also want to turn on clipping. This will make sure that things that are on the center line are treated as if it's stuck on the center line. If I have clipping off, I can open that up and I can cross the line. Turn clipping on, I want to treat it as if it is glued together at that center line. Selecting the whole thing, and now notice I'm working in 2 separate objects. I've got the blade is going to be a separate object from the crossguard here, and I'm just going to start shaping this. Cool thing is that I no longer have to worry about symmetry, at least along the x-axis. And I'm just scaling along the y here, pulling the hilt, the crossguard in here. I didn't. Occasionally you might hit the H key, which is hide. Alt-H will unhide. It's handy if you know what you're doing when you do it. It is frightening when you accidentally hit it. I meant to hit grab, not H, and they're very close together. Alright, so notice I have this face selected and not the rest of it. So when I hit extrude, I'm now extruding from that face and it's in mirror. I'm now going to use that smooth vertices option again. Extrude it some more. Maybe even move it up a little bit. And smooth the vertices down even more. These vertices, I want to smooth them a little bit too. Here, kind of round it out a little bit. There's my crossguard. Super, super fancy sword. All right, that's the sword base done. Now, one more thing I want to add. Add mesh. I'm going to go back to adding a circle. It should be the same 16 vertices I had last time. And I'm going to scale it down to be inside my crossguard here. Z, and then I'm going to extrude it down, locking to the Z-axis, scale this out, extrude it down again, extrude it out one more time, and scale this down about there. Don't like the proportions here. Move this up a little bit. Looking at it from all sides. And now here I'm going to make my pommel. And scale that down here. Extrude it one more time, leaving it in place, and then I'm going to merge at center. And now I've made it a solid pommel. And there's my blade. All right, that is it for now. That is just the basics of modeling something, and I even got to work with a modifier a little bit. This is not based on anything specific. This is just your run-of-the-mill generic sword. Probably one of the better ones I've made over the years. But your task now is to start modeling a prop from something, a iconic sword or shield or something with some detail that you can really get your cut your teeth on, so to speak. I say that ironically because I have an infant at home that is literally cutting teeth this week. His first tooth has just emerged. And it is frightening. All right, enough about my personal life. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps.